is a lovely morning. Good morning, Brendo. Let's have a look. So somebody said she should get more protein and she should get more grass. So she goes out during the day, gets grass, we put grass in here, and then we give her power feed as well. Checking on her baby. She was lying here, no discharge, which I think is a good sign. Good morning, young lady. Go. Let's give you the scratches. Oh, stretching. It is nice and cold this morning. We're gonna try and milk her quickly. Let's do that. So my kids quickly went to go fetch the bucket. And then the kids are all learning from Matthew how it works. Matthew says he's been milking in the township before. So we're gonna see if that works. Did you make it soft, Matthew? Okay, let's see. Okay, at the moment we don't feel comfortable taking the baby away for a couple of hours, but it seems like that's gonna be required if we want to get any measurable amount of milk out. Matthew, take her there. Take her the food from Marcella, take the lead, and then take her into the bush and just leave her there. Under the trees there. She was grazing there yesterday, she enjoyed it. Okay, so take the food from Marcella as well, she will walk a little bit easier. Make her careful for your feet, eh? The trap? Where did you find it? So let me show that to the camera quickly. So these are poacher traps. The guys find them in the veld sometimes. Show how they close. Can you close it?
It's old and rusty.
It's old and rusty, so that must be one that we found a while ago. People put them in the veld and then put food in there and then catch birds mostly. Guinea fowl, etc. And so it's constantly, if you own land in Namibia, it's constantly a struggle to go and remove all of the traps from everywhere. Little Millie is very happy about life. We just leave Brenda out here below the trees during the day. Today will be our second day here, so we'll get her a routine. Okay, right there is fine. You can take the lead off, no? Or you can take the whole halter off, it's fine. Lekker, and then take the... Yeah, it's fine, we can just pick up the bucket later when she's finished. Finish it. He ran into the tree. I've asked Gift this morning to open this compost heap for me quickly and turn it around. Gift, I think we must bring a bucket, eh? Yeah. And then let's take those worms out when we see them. Okay. I think Emmanuel will like to eat them. We can put all of them in the chicken feeder just like that. Anyway, yeah. Okay, and then I quickly want to open the chickies. See, they've got some old sunflowers in there. And let's see. Come, chickies. See how they enjoy us turning the compost. Okay, now they're going on their usual run. Is there a lot of them? Emmanuel's going to eat nice. So somebody said we shouldn't remove the grubs, we should have them go through the life cycle. But the area is so big and the amount of compost heaps that we have is so big, and I don't think we necessarily have an impact when Emmanuel eats a bucket or two of these. That we necessarily have an impact on the life cycle of these worms. They're still going to be enough to continue breeding. Like, we've only gone through a couple of spitfooks full, and there is plenty. We'll fill up that thing quickly, I think. Halfway through turning the compost, I decided to push the chickens out, but I pushed them a bit too fast, so they're running back to safety of the cage. Interesting, when you put pressure on them, they go for safety. I wanted to push them a little bit to see how they handle the compost heap. Now they all ran back. I grabbed a chair and I just sat down, see how they react. And they are definitely very, very interested in what's happening here. This lady came running from the back. Wonder if they will grab the worms. I think the worms might be a little bit too big for them, or I wonder if they can't distinguish between them. Let's quickly see. Maybe the movement will draw them in. Yeah, I think the fact that I'm throwing it. Interesting, they don't seem to want to eat them. But since we've turned the compost now, they will find other things to eat in there. They've got a very, very sophisticated eye. Ooh, that guy found a red wiggler. One less red wiggler on this farm. Didn't actually see the red worms when we turned it, and now that they are here, now you see how they are just devouring the red wigglers. So they found the mother load. Quickly want to show you, we stripped a leucaena tree, cut the branches off the top, filled up a whole trailer with leaves. We left the big branches, so we're not taking them with. They are touching the power lines, so we clear the power lines a little bit. We'll come later again and take the rest off. And this is our hole that we got for the day. So the goats know and the sheep know what leucaena are. This is day 2. Whenever we approach them with leucaena, they go crazy. Okay, I'm not sure if you can see it, but how the leucaena is falling apart. It becomes very dry, and then it gives off the leaves very, very quickly. So you can actually cut and store leucaena, I think, very, very effectively if you dry it. Dry it like you dry the sun. I think you can do a hell of a job drying it and storing loads of nutrients. One of my friends fed his goats only leucaena. My recommendations is that you don't do more than 50% of the weight that they eat. So we have a whole bag of food for them as well. But they love the leucaena. It is such a nice tasting plant. That's why I believe it can never become invasive, because if any animal finds it in the wild, they eat it completely until it's very, very dead. Just put some for Brenda in her feed bucket as well. She also really likes it, it seems. Moremi feeds her with by hand the dried leaves, and she really enjoys it. You can see the sticks here. So we let the goats in here during the day, the goats and the sheep, so that they can have some shade. And then Brenda grazes outside below the trees and on the farm in general. Christoph Robson says in his experience, corn doesn't do well with other grasses. Now, as you can see, there's a couple of corn plants here in a square, and then we planted some prickly pears. So while we're watering the corn, we might as well water the prickly pear. Prickly pears will be our main crop here. There is corn below, and then there's some squash and some watermelons planted. But the things that we didn't plant is the grasses. Now, they might become a problem. We'll see. We'll probably chop and feed them to the pigs as time goes by. It's a bit more work to harvest them now. If you pull them, it's a little bit. You don't necessarily get the roots. Sometimes you do get. Some are a little bit more stronger. But I think for the work you spend, it might be worth the while to wait a little bit and pull them a little bit later during the season. Feed them to the pigs like that. It might also happen that the pumpkins kill them. but it's definitely going to be an interesting experiment. Then Christopher Robson asks whether the swales and the African smiles harvest frost. It's a very interesting concept to me, but I guess it makes sense in areas where you get fog and so on. So this is just a pipe that still needs to be put into the pigs area. This is an African smile that we dug before we dug the swale, and there's still some millet left from last year, and in fact it's actually turning a bit green already. So our winters are very, very dry. By the time we get cold and frost, there's not a lot of moisture in the air, so I don't think that our swales harvest fog to a measurable, or frost to a measurable extent. I'm sure maybe the first one you might get some ice. I'm not sure if that makes a change at all. I think the cold is so damaging that it doesn't make a change. So have a go, ask whether I'll be using any rotational grazing methods for moving the animals around, because if you don't, then you risk the chance of overgrazing. And I've been thinking about this quite a bit. When I started here, I could not, and I saw hundreds of permaculture videos, and especially Justin Rhodes and Joel Salatin does it so wonderfully, where they have these little camps moving around and these chicken tractors and these fences, and I just couldn't believe, why doesn't everybody farm like that? How can a farmer still put up these fences? Why do people, for instance, make fire breaks instead of just moving the cattle along the outside of the farm for 30 or 50, even 50 meters wide, and graze that in fire season, so there's some fire breaks. And I'm here on Cornell's land. This is now what's left of his crop rests, etc. They took all the grass out when it was overgrowing the corn, and that's what made those heaps and heaps of compost. And they mulched it, etc. In any case, I've been beaten by the electrical fence. I know it sounds silly, but I've spent about, when we just started here, I spent about as much money on electrical fence equipment, all the little tape thingies. The arena is still made from those tapes, to build the stables. Then we couldn't get the earthing to work. You would have great electricity at the machine, and then 5 or 10 meters further I could touch it with my hand. Spend hours with people on a video call putting these long copper earthings in. We ended up putting a wire below the ground, fill that with salt, because he said, okay, well, maybe your area is too dry so the earthing doesn't work. Putting a wire below, putting salt on that wire so that pulls in moisture. I even wet that wire, and sometimes it would work great. We'd shock the living daylights out of a visitor, and then sometimes it doesn't work well. So we had great entertainment and great shocks, trying to make it work, but we couldn't. The solution to that, I believe, is to have 2 lines about this far apart, one live and one earth, so that when people touch both, or animals touch both, then they get shot. There is electrical fences in town, that's the way they work. Live and earth, live and earth, live and earth, like that, and then lots of pegs along the way. This is the earthwork that we made in March. This is now on Cornell's land. I'm just coming to check out the grazing quickly, and there's a big hole there. There's a bit of debris that washed in here. You can see there's some plastic bags, etc. There's a anthill, I think, that opened up. You can see it's still wet. When was the last time we had rain? About a week ago. We had some rain and that's still wet, so that's a good thing. It's amazing if you just dig a little hole, how much moisture you get. Here you can see, how cool is this? There is no moisture here. See, my battery is about to die. And then little mulch, moisture first of all, and life. How cool is that? Just a little bit of mulch makes the difference. Check the moisture there below the mulch. Check the dryness there with no mulch. Incredible. We cleaned out this person's yard with leaves like this the day, well, Friday. One of the tenants moved out and the landlord wasn't happy because they left the leaves. It was mulch like that. And so I showed, he doesn't care, he's never going to care. But I showed one of the ladies how incredible it was. That below that mulch is just wet and alive and etc. And just next to it, right next to it, bone dry, hard as cement. The difference mulch makes in a garden is just, or on land, is just incredible. Anyway, to get back to the idea of, so what are we going to do? We don't have enough land in any case for all of the animals that we have. So my plan is to have them graze everything as much as we should. And then remove them completely. Either eat them or, you know, send them to a colder climate. I don't have enough land to necessarily breed with animals. So, and I miss these kids. Miss my sister and Cornell as well, but feels like I lost some of my own children with them being gone. It is sad, our house is empty. Still like my kids a bit as well, but still, it's nice to have other people's children with you. Yeah, so graze that down, the land as much as possible, plant butternuts, remove the animals, have the grass grow back naturally, and then next year we might do the same. Have loads of animals in here for a short period of time and then remove them again. Once we start moving them around, we're probably going to start moving Brenda around as well, until Cornell's land is nice and empty, and then we'll see whether we'll plant butternuts or what it is we'll do. We will see. So on Thursday my video was ended up on a bit of a negative note. I said I'm tired, and anyway, I spent so much time sleeping this weekend doing nothing, and definitely did not get up at 5 o'clock. We had a meal, 2 meals with friends. That was nice. And then the new work that happened on the farm is we dug loads and loads of planting pits, and that was basically it. We did use the weed whacker again to open up a piece, but I'm recharged. I just spoke to Manette. They are ready for the week ahead. I think this is going to be an awesome permaculture week. That's going to be the end of my story. Have a wonderful day.